There is an even more sinister reality at play beneath the surface horrors emerging in these 3 million Epstein-related emails recently made public by the DOJ. A reality so caustic that even the most relentless podcasters and/or internet journalists, people like Alex Jones, SGT Report, and Greg Reese, have yet to fully identify it. Here is an example of what I am talking about.
By the way, I missed something in our fallen world. That list of things these people partake in, I forgot to mention wet works. Just about every single time Epstein says whoops, it means murder, folks. It's all over the Epstein files. Making fun of little children. One little girl said, Jesus saved my life. Whoops. She's dead. Whoops. This one too.
Let's look at this. Epstein email exchange where they talk about a little girl praying in bed about Jesus saving her life. He's talking to an unnamed person. She said that she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helps save her life. Whoops.
He seems to have a kind of a, sick inside joke kind of humor, like, let's make fun of Christians, let's make fun of white people, let's, degrade these things that he sees as his opposition.
You see how he was mocking a young girl who was praying to Jesus, did you enjoy the torture video? And then they blank out the name.
The victim mentioned in this email clearly came from a Christian household or environment. How else could she be so forthright in her belief that Jesus would save her? Was her faith the specific pedigree that made her attractive to her butchers? There are many additional emails describing Epstein and others making horrific sport of the faith of these children whom they torture and murder.
I was just reading today that newborns will suck on a pacifier more vigorously if it triggers playback of a recording of their mother's voice. Mark Jude Trano, Department of Neurology, Director Institute, Co-Director, University of California. Now, there's a bunch of other references in there to starving the babies so they suck harder. Just go to the Department of Justice search and type in jerky. It will also bring you a taste of his new jerky recipe from his restaurant and sends a warm hello. He's working on a restaurant called Cannibal and Cooks. How is your jerky situation? Should I bring more? Beach only to find the small plastic bag near my dog's bed, hence no beef jerky. I emailed Francis to make sure more of it. We need 6 to 8 ounces to send to the lab. I don't want to be too demanding, but the last time food was cold, can you please make sure the food is hot? Cold pizza, dead kid, and cold pasta, dead kid, are disgusting. Do you still want us for lunch?
This is 10 times crazier than the WikiLeaks stuff, because this isn't just John Podesta, high-level Democrat people talking about hot tubs with kids or whatever, hot dogs and all this stuff. This is way more scope, volume. It's global. It's not just Hillary Clinton and these people. This is global, and it shows a network of elite fixer consultation. The first time I ever saw any religious element was the Wexner situation, because there's an interview where Wexner says he believes he's possessed by a dybbuk, which is the Hebrew word for a demon. I was waiting to see if there's any, esoteric stuff with Epstein himself, and that pops up in the Bannon interview, because he says, I see all reality as numbers. It's like gematria numerology code. So, right away I was picking up, okay, that's out of Kabbalah, that's a Kabbalistic idea. So I think he is influenced by Kabbalistic stuff.
Looking through those other cases, the Church of Set, high-level, military intelligence, it's these same people that he's tied in with.
Here, seemingly unrelatedly, I cite both The Devil and Karl Marx by Paul Kanger, as well as Tortured for Christ by Pastor Richard Wurmbrand, as similar sources of evidence for the proclivity and passion with which the Bolshevik leaders, who were indisputably of Jewish ethnicity, enjoyed devising ever-escalating means of psychosexual torture for the Christian children, which they had forcibly removed from their parents, including gang rape, sexual humiliation, and acts of torture resembling holy Christian rites. Then there is what Martin Luther wrote hundreds of years ago concerning Simon of Trent, a Christian child abducted and murdered by Jews who tortured, bled, and partially cannibalized him. A ballad was written about Simon of Trent, which became the most popular song sung universally among the common class. You might say that this was because of a nationwide anti-Semitism, but that's not really how song popularity works. Think of the recent Oliver Anthony hit. Everyone was singing it for years, not because they hated liberals, but because the devaluing of the dollar and the general fading of opportunity were realities that they could no longer ignore, and there was relief in singing about these afflictions together. Could the Simon of Trent ballad's popularity have had a similar cause? There is a reason why certain elite factions of Jews have been evicted from so many countries. There is a reason why certain Jewish women were forced to wear the conical Judenhutton, which later came to be known as the witch's hat. Could it all have to do with a basic lust for harming Christian children? A basic lust for their blood? Why in the last 30 years has there been such an obvious push to make vampires into movie heroes and sympathetic idols? In these emails, Epstein admits that he works duly for the Rothschilds and the Mossad, both open and irreconcilable enemies of Christianity. It is clear from a lot of the language that Epstein, as well as these other name-redacted predators, have a particular relish for abusing and murdering specifically Christian children. You might say, yeah, but many of these children were sourced from Africa, to which I would reply that for some time in many nations of Africa, Christians have been and are being hunted, rounded up, and either mass murdered or sold directly into slavery. This is why there are so many Africans showing up in America, as well as other Western nations. In fact, as of a report dated yesterday, anti-Christian persecution now represents nearly 40% of all worldwide violence. Those recent child abduction rape scandals emerging out of Rotterdam in the UK, they all involved white children, white babies, with non-white attackers. And now I think this travesty also needs to be re-examined through the same lens as we are here using to discuss the Epstein files. Is Christian persecution now a basic global industry? Are Christian screams, shed blood, and tears now an industrialized fetish of the global elite? If so, I would like to remind people that here in America, for a rapidly narrowing window of opportunity, Christians are still the majority. But do they have, in 2026, the moral courage to defend themselves and their children?
It's hard for us to comprehend it, you know, like I'm a father, I don't know if you are, but it's like our minds can't even like comprehend this, I think. So a lot of us just want this to like go away and not look at it.
Yeah, I had a couple boomers mention me or text me in the past few days, and they're like, "Do we have to keep talking about this?" And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to talk about it. It's like the biggest story of our lifetime, though. Like,
Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that we have some good news. While we were sleeping, it appears that activist and Amazon labor organizer Chris Smalls, along with other activists, shut down the ports in Europe. They shut down over 21 ports in solidarity with the pro-Palestine movement. This is a big deal because without those ports in operations, you know, obviously those weapons can't transfer from there to Israel. So let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm talking about, shutting it down. Chris Smalls announced it the other day.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
For Brandish Productions, this is Daddy Brandish.